Okay, I'd like to call this March 31st, 2020 special meeting of the Board of Trustees for the San Felipe Del CISD. I'd like to call it to order. Madam Secretary, would you do us the honor of calling roll?
Mr. Contreras? Mrs. Guanajuato? Ms. Haynes? Ms. Mesa? Mr. Mesa?
Here.
Mr. Overfelt?
Present.
Mr. Smith? Myself? Sir, we have a quorum.
Thank you very much, and I'd like to remind everyone that is watching, we are practicing social distancing. We're all in different offices, and it might take a while to unmute the microphones, and it takes a while as I acknowledge different people, so bear with us. We do have a quorum of board members, and this meeting has been duly called in accordance with Texas Open Meetings Act, Texas Government Code, Chapter 551. At this time, we will have opening ceremonies, first with a moment of silence, followed by the Pledge of Allegiance. Would you please stand? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you again. We do have 3 items. 2 of them are action items. We have one that is discussion. We have nothing under reports. We go straight to administration. Item 9A, consideration and approval of an order authorizing the issuance of San Felipe Del Rio CISD Unlimited Tax School Building Bonds Series 2020, entering into a purchase contract and a paying agent registrar agreement and other matters related to thereto. Dr. Rios?
Yes, Mr. Mesa, thank you, board members. When we first asked to have this meeting, the intent was only to address item B. But since then, we were fortunate enough to have our team, particularly our underwriters and our financial advisor, put together the process for going out on the market and trying to sell our bonds. As you remember, the last time, because of the market responding to COVID-19, they did not sell. However, we had better luck today. I'm going to ask Dan Martinez and David to take over the presentation. We'll probably have to wait just a couple of minutes for Reno to bring on Mr. David Martinez. I see Dan is already on the screen. Mr. Luna, can you let David Martinez join the meeting?
Good evening, Dr. Rios. This is Dan. I don't know if you guys can hear me. I hear you guys perfectly, and thank you for everybody for joining us. I think we're waiting for David, probably, right?
Yes, David is waiting for the host to allow him to enter the meeting.
Okay, thank you.
Dan, are you able to begin with your part? That's fine. David's joining. He's good.
Okay.
Give him a minute.
And I can see everybody. I don't know if they can see me, but I can see them.
No, David, but if you'll begin by sharing your screen, you can take over the presentation.
Okay. Carlos, are you there, Dr. Rios?
Yes, we're all here. We can all hear you, David.
So this says host disabled participant screen sharing.
Okay. Let me have Mr. Luna correct that.
Okay. There we go. Dr. Rios, are you all able to see that presentation?
Yes, sir. You're good.
Okay, great. Well, I'm going to go ahead and get started, and I don't think anybody can see me. I apologize. This technology thing is just a little bit out of my wheelhouse here, but we did put together a presentation, and we're going to go ahead. I'm going to go ahead and get started. There's 20 slides on this presentation. I'm not going to go over all of those. I'm going to stick to about 10 main ones. But if y'all have any questions at any time, please let me know, and I'm happy to answer any questions as we begin through this process. Before I get started, as you all know, we try to go into the market with these bonds in the early part of March, and there were a whole host of different reasons that we had to pull out. The Federal Reserve cut rates about 50 basis points at that time. The coronavirus was just starting to take off, and they were canceling schools. The markets were crashing. The stock markets and the equity markets were correcting themselves at the time. So there was a whole host of different reasons that we were not able to price this earlier in the month. And when we tried to go into the market at the time, there were no investors. Basically, all the bond transactions that were getting priced that week were all getting pulled out of the market. And San Felipe del Rio just happened to be part of those school districts or part of those issues that were trying to sell bonds. So we had to change the pricing. We had to just let the markets calm down. The stock market, which is the equity markets, and then the fixed income markets, which is the bond markets, we had to give everything an opportunity to calm down so that we could enter the markets and find investors for these bonds. Even though we're looking at AAA credits, it was just it's just a unique time with so many different things, not just happening here, but across the world, that have really impacted all the markets. But with that being said, we were finally able to go out this morning with what we felt was a good scale for your bonds, for all of your maturities all along the yield curve from 2020 out to 2050. We had several meetings with Dr. Rios and with the underwriters to just determine and establish those rates that we went out there with to try to reel in investors. And that's basically what this presentation did. So with that short intro, I'm going to go ahead and get started here. If you see here, we have the financing team. I know you'll have seen this page many times. We have the school district, your financial advisor, your bond counsel, your underwriters counsel, the rating agencies, the Standard & Poor's and Moody's, and then we have your bond insurance. In this case, we had TEA, Purchase Your Bonds, and we have your paying agent, UMB Bank. So these are the same list of players that we presented to the school board several months ago. On slide number 3, we went out and had meetings, conference calls with both Standard & Poor's and Moody's. If you look at S&P's ratings, I'm not going to go through every single item, but it shows you what they see as the district's strengths, and then what they see as your considerations. And what they mean by considerations is, hey, these are things that you guys need to focus on for the next 2-3 years. And if you really tackle these things, there's a good chance that we can upgrade you whenever you come back to the market in about 2 or 3 years. And this is common for all all entities, cities, counties, and school districts. But if you look at just some of the pluses there on the A+, it's a growing tax base, adequate income, strong general fund reserve levels, very moderate debt burden, and diverse taxing base. So an A+ stable from S&P is considered a high rating. So that's something very, very positive and happy to be about as a board. If you jump over to the Moody's on the right-hand side, there you have a AA3, which is a higher rating than the A+. And there again, you can look at some of the positives and the negatives and how they look at. These are just some of the things that you need to work on going forward. But again, a AA3 is a very, very, very high credit rating. And then again, you also get the added benefit of the AAA PSF bond insurance. So any investor out there knows that you're not only going out there with a AA3 or an A+, but you got that PSF insurance, which makes you that much more attractive to investors. On this page here, we have the sources and uses page. So we have the par of 15,520,000. The premium, that should be 16. I'm sorry, that should be 16,520,000. We have the premium, 2,730,000. Now, premium is a component of premium bonds that we're able to whenever we sell certain bonds, sometimes the market, there's a lot of appetite sometimes for certain maturities. And for those maturities, we're able to charge investors more, and that's how we're able to generate this premium. So if you look here, for sources, you have a total of 19,250,418. Now you jump down to uses, and you have the project fund deposit. You have 19 million for your project fund. That's specifically for your projects. You have 170,864 for cost of issuance, and you have 79,554 for your underwriter's discount, for a total of 19,250,418. On this, for this entire 30-year unlimited tax school building bonds, you were able to lock in a 2.97% interest rate for 30 years. And I'll say that one again. You were able to lock in a 30-year fixed rate of a 2.97. I've never seen a 30-year bond below 3%. I mean, I've seen a 2.5 or 2.6 for 10-year bonds or 15-year bonds, but for 30 years, a 2.9 is very, very a low interest rate, and it's a function of several things. It's a function of the high credit rating that the district has, but it also is a function of what you're seeing in the market. You're seeing a lot of flight to quality. So a lot of people are selling and getting out of the equity markets and moving into the bond markets. And for that reason, that has a big impact on why you're able to accomplish and achieve such a low interest rate on these 30-year fixed rate bonds. So that's something else to also be very happy and I'm proud about. And if you all remember, since 2018 and 19, when we were showing all the different bond election scenarios, the interest rates that we showed was in the 4% and the 3.75% to the taxpayers of Del Rio. So that's how all our analysis was based for the last year or so. If you jump over to the following page here, here we just have a list of the school district's outstanding debt by issue, the original principal that was issued, the outstanding balance on it, and then the callable dates when we're looking at it to see if any of those bonds are callable and you can refinance for savings. Those are things that we monitor. I'm going to jump to the next page. On this page, let's see if I can move this box. There's a box right on the right-hand side with Dan's head. Let me see if I can get that off to the right a little bit more. Sorry, Dan. There you go. Okay. So this is a tax rate impact analysis. So this shows the basically a snapshot of your all's current financial situation, and it also shows once you add these new bonds to your total debt profile, what happens to your tax rates, what happens to your IFA, your EDA funding, and what happens to your TRE. So I know you all have seen this many, many times, and I'm just going to go ahead and go through this from left to right. In column number 2, you have your property values. In column number 3, you have your assessed value growth. In column number 4, you have your existing debt service to date. So if you notice in column number 4, after 2032, your total debt service significantly drops in about 10 years. And then we have in columns 5, column 6, and column 7. If you notice there, we're sizing the $19 million bond that we just put out to the voters today. And then we have your total debt service, which is a combination of 5, 6, 7, columns 5, 6, and 7, and columns number 4, we have your total debt service. Now, in columns 9 and 10, we're subtracting your EDA that you should be receiving once you start levying a INS tax rate. And this is something that we work with Mo Casey, who really handles a lot of your TRE and your M&O operations. This is something that we worked on with them. In column 11, now we have your total remaining debt service, and then in column 12, we have your TRE contributions, which subsidizes any remaining balance left over from your debt service. So if you jump over to column 14, currently the district does not have an INS tax rate that's levied. When we went out with the voters and we showed the voters all the different models and scenarios, the models that we showed were a tax rate of 567, 0.056, so roughly 5.5 cents. So for the first 2 years, you're looking at 0.0567. Now the school district has at your liberty to increase the INS as you so please. You can transfer from M&O over to INS as you all decide moving forward. Is it more advantageous to keep more pennies on the M&O or the INS? That's something down the road for the school board. But in any event, this is just kind of a format that shows you how much this is going to cost, how much state assistance you're getting, how much you're getting in the golden pennies, what's being covered through the INS going forward, and then what the TRE is picking up that is not being picked up by your interest and sinking fund debt service. I know there's a lot of information on this table, but I'm going to go ahead and move on to the next slide unless there's any questions at any time or regarding this slide. On this page, page number 7, here we have a timetable of events. If you all remember, we tried to price this on March the 4th. We updated this timetable. So in the middle of the timetable there, we have a pricing today of March 31st. If the board decides to move forward on this financing today, what we're basically going to do, myself and Dan Martinez, we're going to call the underwriters, execute certain documents, and we're going to lock in that 2.97 true interest cost. And then we're going to begin working. Dan's going to get his team, and they're going to begin working with the Attorney General's office to execute those documents, get all of those documents squared away with the state. And then we have roughly about 30 days. So I know several months back we did approve a reimbursement resolution. So if the school district, for whatever reason, in the next 30 days needs to or wants to or has to get started or any kind of projects or expenses that fall under what this bond is for, you can go ahead and use any of those monies. If not, if you jump down to the bottom of the page on April 30th, which is the end of this or I guess today's 31st. So at the end of April, on April the 30th, we will close and the bond proceeds will be wired to the district's funds or the district's accounts, and you can begin work on your projects 30 days from today. I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to go ahead. If you look on the left-hand side, this is just kind of gives you an idea of how crazy the market has been just in the last month. So don't worry about the boxes on the right. Looking on the left-hand side. So if you look at the red line, that's the red dashed line, that's where the market was a week ago. If you're looking at yellow, which is at the very, 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 very bottom, that's where the market was a month ago. Today, the market was in the white area, or the white straight line. That's where the market was today. So it just kind of gives you an idea of why investors are not dipping their toes in the water right now, because the markets are all over the place. So the reason, you know, we had about 5 or 6 consecutive days in the market where things were stabilizing, and we basically made a decision that said, hey, we need to move forward. You know, we feel there's enough investors out there. We feel the underwriters are confident enough that we can get these bonds priced. You know, so we went in the market today, and fortunately we were able to get a good interest rate, you know, 2.97. But this gives you an idea of why you've seen so many gyrations in the market, and you know, the stock market going up and down, and the bond market going up and down, and the Federal Reserve cutting rates 50 basis points. This little graph here is a result of all of that you've been seeing and hearing of, including the COVID-19. So I'm going to go ahead and jump over to the next page. And this just kind of also shows a little bit of what's been going on with the 10-year Treasury and the 30-year Treasury, which is how we market your bonds whenever we enter the market. And then everything after this, I'm not going to spend too much time on it, but these are the actual rating reports from Moody's, from Standard & Poor's, and then we also have the guarantee letter. Here's the report from Standard & Poor's, and then here we have the guarantee from TEA that's insuring your bonds in case anytime you cannot make debt service payments. And that's all I have. And I believe I have to stop sharing in order to receive any types of questions. So I'm going to hit stop share here, and then we can go from there.
Yes, I will ask any board member if they have any questions. Mr. Smith?
I don't really have any questions, but congratulations and appreciation. I mean, I know you guys, this was with the rough waters that are going on right now. You guys had to have been on the ball to have secured what you have. And I just want to say thank you for the dedication tied to that, and respect our district. So thank you so much. No questions.
No, that we thank you all for the opportunity, and as Dr. Rios knows, and as all y'all know, and Dan, it has been really, really a unique time in the market. I think after we were supposed to price these on the 4th of March, and on the 5th of March, we were getting alerts that it was the worst day in the bond market since 1987. So it has really been a unique time, and 1987, that was Black Monday. So it has really, really been a very, very unique time. So the fact that we're able to lock in at 297 for 30 years, at this point, we just, thank God, and let's move forward. And and it's just, we were just fortunate enough that the market was steady enough, long enough for us to get in there and get out with the 297. So congratulations to you all, for taking the initiative to move when you did.
Once again, David and Dan, I'm so glad the market kind of stabilized for a few days, and I think we're lucky to be able to do this today. I think all of us have seen, the up and downs of the market, and just seems that from the first presentation that you made to the board, I did see, the 3.75 interest rate, which I thought was great. But it's even better now that that we're locking in and that the market's been stable. I think that's we're lucky to be able to do this. Anyone else with a question? Dr. Rios, I'll turn it over to you. I think Dan has his part?
Thank you, Mr. Mesa. Dan, is there anything that you need to share before I read the recommendation?
I'm muted right now.
You're good.
Okay. No, all we need is take the normal vote by the board, and if that's how they show us to pass it, we'll be good. And as David mentioned, we'll be going on our documentation and all that. And I do appreciate, we did send you a purchase contract. As David mentioned, we want to lock in the sale and let the investors know that, the district did move forward and approve the rates that we got, and we can consummate the sale that way.
Mr. Mesa, with your permission, I'm sorry, I think Mr. Smith has a question.
Question, Mr. Smith?
Not really a question, just a statement. To make sure that we're rock solid on our accounts as we wire this.
We will make sure, especially with 19 million being deposited into the district's accounts, we will make sure to, it's a different paying agent, of course, this time. So I think this time around, I don't think we'll have a problem making sure that the money gets to the right accounts so that we can begin work on the projects.
I'll read the recommendation.
Dr. Rios, would you make the motion, the recommendation, please?
Yes, sir. Mr. President, members of the board, it is a recommendation of the administration that the Board of Trustees approve an order authorizing the issuance of the San Felipe Del Rio Consolidated Independent School District Unlimited Tax School Building Bonds, Series 2020, entering into a purchase contract and a paid agent register agreement and other matters related thereto.
You have heard the recommendation from the administration. I would ask for a motion. I see Mr. Smith. Is there a second to the motion? Mrs. Webb? I will now call on each and every one of you. Mr. Smith? For? Amy Haynes? For? Diana Gonzalez? For? Mrs. Webb? In favor? Mr. Orfold? In favor? And myself. It's unanimous. Motion has been approved. Thank you very much, Dan and David, for all your work.
Thank you all so much. Congratulations.
Next item of business is Administration 9B. Consider and take possible action on order to postpone the May 2nd, 2020 board election to November 3rd, 2020 general election in light of the governor's proclamation and the COVID-19. Sandra Hernandez.
Good evening, Mr. Mesa, Dr. Rios, and members of the board. On March 18th, Governor Abbott issued a proclamation authorizing political subdivisions, including school districts, holding elections on May the 2nd, 2020, to postpone those elections to the November 3rd, 2020 uniform election date in the interest of preserving public health and safety in light of the COVID-19 pandemic. In order to utilize this move, the governing body of political subdivisions that are holding elections, including school districts, must order the postponement of their election to the November 3rd, 2020 uniform election date. The order for this official action contains the following items. 1, a reference to the proclamation that authorizes political subdivisions like San Felipe Del Rio Consolidated Independent School District to postpone its May 2nd, 2020 election date to November 3rd, 2020, which is another uniform election date. And through this order, the Board of Trustees will exercise the authority given to it by the governor's action. 2, the board confirms that the candidate filings for the election will remain valid for the election held on the November date, and that the filing period will not be reopened for the November election date, and that the ballot order, draw, conducted for the November 2nd, 2020 election will remain the same for the November 3rd, 2020 election. 3, the board confirms that it will follow the guidance and procedures of the Val Verde County Elections Department and the Val Verde County Clerk to ensure all applications for ballot by mail or ABBMs for voters that are voting by mail due to being over the age of 65 or due to a disability will remain valid for the postponed election. And that ABBMs for voters who submitted an ABBM based on expected absence from the county would not be valid for the postponed election. And that those voters will need to submit another ABBM for the November 3rd, 2020 election. The deadline to submit an ABBM for the November 3rd election 2020 election, is October 23rd, 2020. The 4th item is the deadline for eligible persons to register to vote in the November 3rd, 2020 election is October 5th, 2020. The early voting period for the November 3rd, 2020 election will run from October 19th through October 30th, 2020. The board will revise its order of election with necessary information on early voting and polling locations on or before August 17th, 2020, upon receipt of such information from Val Verde County Elections Department. Also, under Article 16, Section 17 of the Texas Constitution, the individuals who currently hold public offices that are scheduled to be on the ballot on the May uniform election date will continue to exercise their duties of those offices until the new officers take their oaths of offices following the November uniform election date. And at this time, I can answer any questions.
Sandra.
Yes.
Some of the questions have that along with those changes, will you plan out when, for example, reports are due from the treasurer and other items that need to be submitted? Will there be a timeline where you rearrange all those dates?
We will follow the November 2020 election date deadlines as issued out by the Secretary of State. Some of that information has already been released, and I have forwarded that information to the candidates, and they have that information.
Okay, great. I really appreciate that. Anyone else? Hearing none, the recommendation, please.
Yes, sir. It is the recommendation of the administration that the Board of Trustees approve the order to postpone the May 2nd, 2020 board election to the November 3rd, 2020 general election in light of Governor Abbott's proclamation and COVID-19.
You have heard the recommendation from administration. I will entertain a motion for approval. Mr. Smith, is there a second to the motion? Mrs. Gonzalez, all those in favor, let's start with Mr. Smith. In favor? Ms. Amy Haynes? In favor? Diana Gonzalez? In favor? Mrs. Webb? In favor? Mr. Orfeld? In favor? And myself? In favor. Motion passes unanimously.
Thank you, sir.
We go on to the next item, item 9C, COVID-19 school closure discussion. Dr. Carlos Rios.
Thank you, Mr. Mesa, members of the board. I wanted to take the opportunity to first thank our food service department, thank our transportation department for the meals that are being provided to our students in the community. The first week after the schools closed, we served approximately 15,000 meals. This last week, we served approximately 23,000 meals. And the numbers from yesterday and today indicate that we're on track this week to serve at least the same amount of meals that we served last week. It's just a tremendous effort being undertaken by the district, particularly those two departments and the leadership of SFE, and it's important. The lines are long at the grocery stores, and there's a whole lot of people out of work, and there's definitely a need. So I'm glad that those two departments have stepped up and everybody's come together to help out. It really is a big undertaking. The other piece of our puzzle, the other focus of the school district, is the lessons we have been providing for our students, our home-based instructional program. By and large, this has been tremendously successful. Our students are receiving their lessons either directly emailed, they're receiving them by downloading them from the website, or they're being sent by mail or delivered by school district personnel. The area where we have a little bit of concern is the return rate. Our principals have indicated that there's an approximate 70% return rate. We need to keep working with that other 30% of the students. But we think that this is a great start, and that we'll continue to improve on those numbers so that when we finally come back to school, students will not be as far behind as they otherwise would. So much appreciation to the teachers that have been working hard, the staff that's been calling the parents, and the principals for coordinating all of this. And then finally, we just want to mention that we had anticipated either the county judge or mayor extending the executive order or the governor. In this case, the governor stepped up to the plate today and declared that we would continue to stay away from school for the month of April. With this in mind, unless something else is indicated by the Office of the Governor, we would plan on resuming classes on Monday, May 4th. Not to say that that's going to happen, but right now we can safely say that the schools are closed through the rest of April. Are there any questions? Anything else that I should add?
Questions? I see Mr. Smith. Mr. Smith?
Yeah, just again, I know I've got a lot of good comments from parents and like, and I know it's been a big adjustment for all the teachers and staff to put all the things together to get this remote curriculum put together. So far, I applaud the organization for what they've done tied to that. And you and I talked earlier about this 70% number. I know you're working it. It's difficult when you don't have kids in front of you to work the subject, but I know you're working that piece. And the meals agree and echo that statement. It's tough to make it to the grocery store for anybody, and especially if you've got any special needs tied to that equation, whether that's financial or physical or whatever. And 23,000 a week, that's a big number, and congratulations for that effort on everybody's part.
Thank you for those comments, Mr. Smith. Anyone else? Mr. Orford?
Thank you, Mr. Mesa. I just wanted to echo what Mr. Smith was saying and what Dr. Rios was saying. A big thank you to food service and transportation for running those meals every day out to the different locations. As we've seen the numbers go up, it's an important thing to go in and keep our kids fed during these very uncertain times. And then we know that there are families in our school district that depend on those 2 meals every day when school is normally in session. So I applaud them for that. I also want to thank the staff, the teachers, principals, everyone who's been involved in continuing to make sure that our kids are receiving and educated in these very unprecedented times. So a big thank you to all of the teaching staff, all of the support staff, from custodian, bus drivers to food service to teachers, aides, everybody out there. A big thank you from me especially. Thank you, sir.
Thank you so much, Mr. Orford. I have seen also security along the bus areas where they stop to take the meals. And I think the opportunity to allow parents in different areas, so there's so many areas like this hard road, because there's the part there, there's always security there to make sure that everything goes well. The same thing happens with Barfield. There's so many areas of delivery that it makes it convenient for parents as well to be there with their children. And I think teachers have done an awesome job. Because my granddaughter, she's doing the lessons that are being sent home, and it helps out the parents of those that are working with all the work that is being turned in. And of course, most importantly, that they stay on track with the learning objectives that normally they have in the classroom. So a lot of work has been done. I really think administration has done a great job of doing that, as well as the teaching staff and all the workers that are involved. Anyone else? Would anyone else want to add anything as well?
And the custodians and the bus drivers. But I think most importantly that we have to relay the message to all of our employees and especially our parents that if they don't have to go out, stay home. As we keep getting more and more notices of positive reports, we need to make sure that our parents, if they don't have to go out, don't go out, stay home.
Thank you very much for the message. Anyone else? Ms. Haynes?
Thank you, Mr. Mesa. I just have a couple of concerns, but before I say those, I just want to say thank you to everybody that's really working hard. This is a trying time for all of us. I keep y'all in prayer every night. I know it's a lot of work, but I really, truly appreciate everything that everybody's doing. My only concern, Dr. Rios, is what about the students that don't have, that you're not getting the packets to and don't have maybe the accessories that they need or the things that they need at the house? How are we helping those students?
Yes. Thank you. Dr. Rios?
Yeah, Mr. President, there's about three things that are happening. First, we've created a letter that the same personnel that's delivering assignments can take to the parents' homes. So that they haven't answered the call, they haven't replied to the emails. We're leaving a note on their door that says the school's trying to get a hold of you. Please contact the school at this number, so that we can begin that communication, because we still have the whole month of April of lessons that have to be completed. The second part is that we visited with some internet providers so we could very quickly in the next couple of days sample some hotspots that kids can use to log on to the internet and get the assignments. We've also transferred all of our laptops to the Austin building so that any student who needs a laptop to be able to do the work can access the use of it for free. So we can check them out. The only thing that's missing right now is the internet, but we hope to have some hotspots in short order. We'll start out by buying just a handful of them and then increase that some more, because for all we know, this may run through the end of the school year. So those are the steps that we're taking to help students who don't have the connectivity. For now, they can start by contacting the technology department and checking out a laptop. Hopefully by next week, we'll have some hotspots in place that they can use. And then those students that we haven't contacted, we hope that they'll heed our call with that letter and then have some success for everybody. I did want to mention, because I failed to mention earlier, and it's important, aside from the teachers and the cafeteria workers and the custodians, bus drivers that are doing a tremendous job, security has really stepped up they're helping us not only distribute the meals, but they're also helping us distribute about 25% of the assignments to the homes. So we're appreciative of everybody's efforts, but I did forget to mention they've been such an integral part of our success, right along with the principals, teachers, and everybody else. So thank you to them. Ms. Hayes, did that begin to answer your question, ma'am?
Yes, sir, thank you. That gives everybody, you saying that lets people know that there are some ways to help them out. So I really do appreciate that. Thank you.
Yes, Dr. Rios.
Ms. Hernandez is going to be composing a press release just to announce the extended home-based instructional program. And during that, we will add, within that press release, we will indicate the phone number and location if anybody is in need of checking out a laptop.
Okay. I think Ms. Gonzalez has a question. Ms. Gonzalez?
I just want to say, a lot of parents love this going on the internet. I haven't heard anybody say anything bad about that, but that's very good about this hotspot. I didn't know about that. That's interesting, and because a lot of people were saying, well, what about giving laptops to all the kids? But that would be nice, you know, but this is even better, the hotspot thing. Thank you so much. I was not aware of that. It's even better. And yeah, the security people are delivering.
Thank you, Ms. Gonzalez. Anyone else? There being no items on the agenda, is there a motion for adjournment? Mr. Orford, seconded by Mr. Smith. All those in favor? I'll ask Mr. Smith. In favor? Amy Haynes? In favor? Diana Gonzalez? In favor? Mrs. Webb? In favor? Mr. Orford? In favor? And myself. Meeting's adjourned. There is a package sandwich to go here. Thank you for being here tonight.